Hey guys, back for another unboxing today. Today is going to be a really cool unboxing. It's pretty much the whole kit and drivetrain setup for our EV build that you can see over here for the Lotus. It's everything minus the batteries and the compressor, but it should be a pretty fun unboxing to see everything. So like I said, there's a couple items, big items missing, and that would be the batteries. We're going to use 7 Tesla battery modules. That will be at a later date. We might do an unboxing for that, but really it might just be kind of something that we throw into another video of kind of maybe one of our show your work videos of how we build a battery box or something like that. And then the compressor I mentioned, every car system pretty much has a vacuum line setup, and what you do with vacuum lines is they kind of run certain parts throughout the car. So on this one, it's got pop-up headlights, and I'm pretty sure they're vacuum pop-up headlights, but instead of using an electrical mechanism to open and close things, it uses a vacuum to essentially open and close doors and motors and stuff like that. So on this one, you get your vacuum from the engine, and that vacuum, that suction, goes throughout the whole car to work different parts, like I said. So for removing this combustion engine, we lose our vacuum. What the compressor does is it runs some other, runs vacuum and some other things, and it's a little more complex than that, but for layman's terms, that's a big part of what it does. And we are missing one of the motors because we're doing a 2-motor setup, but we're going to save the best for last, and we're going to open up that motor last. So let's get started. So here, it says it on the side, but we're going to wait till we open it. This is the charger. So not the charger that you think of on the wall that I plug the car into, but the charger that is in the car that essentially we plug the wall charger into. And what this does is it takes the power that we are bringing in from the wall but this essentially brings in the power, and it makes sure that whatever power is coming in from the house, it gets to a certain, Goldilocks area that the computer allows to go through the entire car. So here is what I think I was referring to a little bit ago as in the DC to DC converter. So this is not the part that converts the DC to the battery DC, because the battery charges a DC current, and the motor runs an AC current, and the wall power that I supply my car with is AC. So lots of AC DC, not the band, but they were just on. So this is a DC to DC converter, and what it does is it takes the high voltage power that we have in our battery. So we're going to be at 177, I think I have to remember, do the math again, volts on our battery pack setup. And what this does is it converts everything to 12 volt, because the rest of the car, all the components that are, your dash lights, your brake lights, your headlights, they still run off 12 volt. And I'll let you guess what would happen if you ran 177 volts through that entire system, or even worse with like a Porsche Taycan, 800 volts. You run that through the entire 12 volt system of a car, you can probably, more than just busted light bulbs, you'll probably have some fires and a lost car. So what this does is it converts it down to 12 volt to run all those accessories and things like that. All right, I'm going to be cutting in and out because we've got lots of boxes over here to the right to clear out some of the clutter that we've already opened. So you can already tell what this is. Nice shiny picture in the front. This is a high flow racing remote mount fluid cooler, and the remote mount doesn't mean like a button you know, that you push. It means that you can kind of put it wherever. You can, you know, remote mount. You just kind of put it wherever you get some good airflow to cool this. But it does have, you know, a fan. And so you're probably wondering why there's a radiator on this setup, because we're going to EV and we're not having 200-degree plus temperatures from combustion going on inside the engine. Well, we do need to cool the batteries. The batteries, as you can imagine, if you've ever held your phone after watching lots of YouTube videos like this one, and the back of it sometimes will get kind of warm. Well, batteries get hot. And when you start talking, you know, higher voltage, higher amps that we're going to need to run, you know, a car, push a car around, you can imagine the temperatures that are going to build up over time as they get used and get put under load. This is a fun car, so we're probably going to be putting under load pretty often. And what this does is it just regulates the temperature into that, you know, comfortable temperature that the batteries like. And it'll all be run by a computer system as far as, you know, the flow, cooling them down. But that's pretty much what these do and why we have radiators on an EV. So we will open it though, if I can figure out how to open it. Oh, I didn't even need the knife. But I like these because they're shiny. And I love the look of aluminum. We're definitely planning to have these out to where you can see them just because I love this look. So here they are. Got the fan, cool aluminum radiator. Be really careful with these not to damage the fins. But there's going to be 2 of them to make sure we have enough cooling. And I don't know if you can see the other one in the shop, but it's right over there. Now it's time for some mystery boxes. This one's kind of light. If I had to guess, probably the little small hardware that you need. You know, crimp ends, stuff like that. We'll see. Oh, okay. So, got a lot of our wire looms, stuff like that, you know, make things a little pretty. You know, the orange is an indicator of, you know, high voltage stuff. It's one of those things that we just need to make sure if you see orange, be careful around it, extra careful, because we're not running conduit like you see in shops, you know, all over this thing. It is wire, but it's very insulated, very safe. But it is just kind of a warning symbol that there is high voltage there. And yeah, lots of hardware, amp seal kit, connector kit, power plug kit, all this stuff that it's going to be very meticulous work. All the lovely wiring. Hopefully I don't bore you with show your work when I start doing this stuff. Here's all of our high voltage, you know, quick connect stuffs. You know, you get the lug here, plug here, plug it in and out, all safety minded. More connectors, stuff like that. Another mystery box. I'm trying to be careful not to cut in here because you can imagine if this was wiring, especially one of the high voltage ones, and I stuck this knife too deep in there and just slipped one of those wires with this. Went to power everything up and I got it together. Can't imagine what that would do, but I know it wouldn't be good. So, lots of stuff in here. So, wiring harness for the motor. Box within a box. This is our, it said wiring harness, but it's actually our inverter controller for the motor that we're going to open up here in a little bit. What this does is it brings in our power from the batteries, converts it over to 3-phase power to run the motors. And we've got our controller here, or not controller, sorry. The, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. But what this does, contactor, it essentially runs 12 volt here, and it tells the power, the high voltage power to turn on or off. Pretty much a switch for the high voltage power to come from the batteries to the high voltage part of the car. So as soon as you turn that key, this says, yep, let's get high voltage everywhere besides just the batteries, because you don't want high voltage kind of running through everything. You want to be able to turn that on and off. But that is all that stuff's heavy, and that's why you get a little bit of a weight gain when you add these EV components. Yeah, you make up for it with plenty more torque, instant torque throughout the whole power band, but it does happen. So lots of little connectors. This is for our battery connectors, and what this does, this is for the coolant that we go through, that we run through there. It just kind of runs the coolant to the batteries and runs it through there. Ooh, fancy display. Looks like, nope, this is the control board for the display, I think. Yeah. Oh no, it is a display. Just kind of keep track of everything going on with the EV system. Fuse holder, gotta have fuses. Throttle sensor, not a gas pedal anymore because it's a throttle pedal now. We don't use gas. Our fuses. Charging port. Here is a maintenance switch. What this does is pretty much like that contactor earlier, and what it does is you just turn the power on or off. If you need to work on this car, and it isolates the power in different parts of the car, to where if you want to work on this part of it, isolates the power before it to where you can work on that functionality. Here is our electric heater core. Similar to what we were talking about earlier, if we lose vacuum on that combustion engine, we also lose the heat to run a heater inside the car. What this does is it essentially just uses electricity to heat this up. Kind of looks like a radiator, and it just heats up. Air blows through it, warms the air, and you have heat inside the cabin. Yes, lots of crib ins. We'll be using all these, and there's a lot there. Oh, joy, more crimp ins. Let's see what this is. We've got a Bosch, the cooling pump. So, we had I was talking about the computer that runs the flow of coolant through our batteries and everything. This is what moves the water. It's a pump. Simple as that. And there's a couple in here for each one. So there's that one. All right, I cut to this because this is a very heavy box, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is, because we have two boxes left. One's a motor, and one is this box. And then considering how heavy it was, I think a lot of it is going to be, poor timing, our cable in. All this right here. This right here. If you've seen anything EV, you've seen orange wires like this, heavy gauge wires running through the engine bay to the batteries, all that good stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, orange is just kind of a warning sign. Hey, there's high voltage here. This is, my charger, the wall charger. So here's the wall charger. Your basic setup here. This is, I can't remember what we ordered, if it was level 1 or 2 charging. Either way, it's not level 3 charging. I don't have that set up. It's not something you just have at your house, pretty much. And then, so here's the vacuum pump that I was talking about earlier. I thought that's what I returned to them because they had accidentally sent me a wrong voltage compressor, and that's actually for the air conditioning. And I thought I had the air conditioning pump. This is the vacuum pump, and I've already explained what it does, so I'm not going to explain what it does again, but you can at least take a look at it. And this is just, you've got your low pressure vacuum stuff here, and it just supplies vacuum to the whole car to run all those little accessories that run off of vacuum, like my pop-up headlights. I went ahead and kind of cut this box open because I don't want to bore you guys with that. It's a pretty heavy duty box because it's a pretty heavy item, if you couldn't tell. So the unboxing is going to be a little uneventful, but here is the motor. And I'm going to have to be very careful with this because I don't want this thing to slam down. Okay, so here is our drive motor. And yes, it does look relatively small compared to combustion engine, but you know, we've got a lot less to it. I mean, that's really what it is. It's just magnets in there. Again, very layman's terms here. Magnets that pulsate, as the power pulsates through it, pushes those magnets. And what it does is it spins the drive shafts on here, and just constantly, you know, where a crankshaft gets pushed by pistons and turns, this essentially gets pushed by electricity, and it is what turns the drive again. And you know, the reason why you have so much more instant power on this is because just think of a light switch. You know, turn a light switch on, you've got electricity. And again, very simple way of looking at it, but you know, it makes sense that way because you get all of the 170 some volts that we're putting through this. You know, if we want it, we get it right away into this, and it just has that quick reaction time. So one thing to note on this one is I said that we have another motor, and it is coming eventually, but it is a single shaft motor. This is a dual shaft, as you can see. So one here, one here. We've got two sides to this, and what we're going to do is, here's where our power comes in, you know, the three-phase I was referring to. Gosh, this thing's really real small there. And we're essentially going to have that other motor right here stacked on top. And I'm going to build all the bracketing and everything for it. And on this side is where we'll have the other motor shaft, because it'll be a single shaft, remember. We don't need a second shaft over here because it's not going to do anything. What we're going to do on that single shaft is it's going to be run on a belt system, heavy duty belt system, and they're going to work in unison on this side with the belt system. And then this side is connected to my transfer case in the back of the Lotus, and you essentially have a clutch here, and everything behind it's going to work like a normal car with clutch, transfer case, rear axles, all that good stuff. So that's how it works. Again, very simple. So that is the motor, and as I put my hands here right now, it is very cold in here, and I'm going to turn my heater back on. So thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.